So this brings us to exercise number 5. This exercise is all about the basic steps to conflict communication. And we're going to revolve this specifically around building up that relationship between your own feelings and needs, and then being able to communicate this effectively to the people around you that you love or care about. So the purpose of this exercise is that by completing this exercise, you will learn to express your needs and internal experiences more effectively to those around you, empowering you to get your needs met and feel understood by others. And this is a very important thing to be able to do in order to have thriving relationships. So you're going to start by trying to think of the last time you felt triggered by somebody. And what I want you to do is reference the core wounds chart at the back of your workbook for personal interpretations you might be receiving when someone said or did something that made you feel triggered, okay? And so, number 1, you're going to begin, whenever you start off anything, by validating the other person's emotions or stepping around their potential fears or core wounds, okay? So core wounds, like we've touched on briefly in the course, are essentially the interpretations we make at the root belief level of which they occur. So, for example, let's say that somebody forgets to call you back. You might make that mean that you're not good enough, that you are rejected, that you're disliked, that you are unloved, that something's wrong with you, that you're being abandoned, or you're going to be alone forever. Like, it's really the core wounds are the deepest, most painful interpretations. As a general rule, I see things always boiling back down to, and we keep trying to understand what the fears are, okay? So what you're going to do is, first and foremost, you're going to say something like, I really appreciate you, and I'm not trying to criticize you in any way, but want to share something I felt so I don't internalize it. So essentially, you're starting by stepping around their pain points, like saying, I really appreciate you, sort of validating them. And I'm not criticizing you in any way. I'm not trying to make you feel alone or unworthy or anything like that. So you're basically debunking what you think they might personalize ahead of time, which will better enable you to get heard. Because what often happens when we try to communicate is we trip somebody else's sort of defense mechanisms, because they start personalizing as soon as we might have a problem or any kind of challenge. And so we're going to get rid of that ahead of time, okay? So specific to the core wounds or feelings, which you also have that list of feelings at the back of your workbook, you might say something like, I really love you, if you think that the person has a wound around being unloved. Or if you think the person has a wound around feeling abandoned, you might say, I'm not going anywhere. I love our relationship. I just want to chat with you about something specific. So you're debunking in this first exercise, okay? Whatever the core wounds can be, then they feel seen, they feel cared for, and then they're going to be more willing to listen to what you have to say. So we follow this up by expressing what you felt and what you interpreted in a situation. So let's just use that same example, and let's say it's about feeling that somebody didn't call you back, and maybe you made that mean, or you interpreted that as you not being appreciated. Let's say the core wound is not being liked, okay? So you might say, when this situation happened, I interpreted it as being disliked. Okay, and you're just telling them your perception from your experience. That's really what it is. And you can turn around and say, was this what you meant by it? You can get curious. You can open the dialogue. And then what you can say is, I needed you to remember to call me back. Okay, I needed you to remember. And this can be met by, and you can sort of tailor this. You can say, I need you to remember to call me back. And you don't have to be perfect at this, but this can be met by you setting an alarm on your phone, or you at least shooting me a text if you're not able to give me a call back. So at least I know. And, you can substitute so many different potential scenarios into here. It could be you interpreting that same thing, because people interpret things differently based on their core wounds and their previously stored experiences, which we learn a lot about in the Emotional Mastery and Belief Reprogramming course. If you haven't taken that yet, I highly recommend doing so. But you might say, when this situation happened, I interpreted it as me not mattering to you. And so what I need next time is, if you forget to call back, I just need to know that you care. And this can be met by if you forget, just following up and letting me know, hey, I'm so sorry I forgot about you, or I'm so sorry I forgot to call you back. But I really care about you. It's not a reflection of the way I feel towards you, right? There's so many different potential things we can work with. But your goal here is to be able to isolate either what emotion you felt, or it works a lot better usually if we say how we interpreted it something, because it really depersonalizes that from the other person, where it doesn't feel like we're blaming them, so we get heard better. And then what I need, and basically the strategy to meet it. We really want to be as specific as possible. If the need is validation, what kind of validation? Is that words of affirmation? Is that somebody doing an act of service for you, like doing you a favor and showing you that they care through actions? What does that look like very specifically? And again, this is just us being here, being able to communicate our feelings and needs to ourselves first, and then being able to use those steps to share those things with others second. Very important work.
So this brings us to exercise 6. This is about transforming self-sabotage. So the goal of this exercise is that it will help you better understand outdated strategies. Outdated strategies meaning they likely have very strong downsides. So these outdated strategies that your brain uses to get its needs met. By understanding what is actually happening when this takes place and basically the feedback it's giving to you, you'll be able to create healthier conscious strategies that have little or no downsides to get your needs met instead. And then when you lace in positive emotional associations to the new strategies and negative emotional associations to the old strategies, this helps to speed up the subconscious transformation process when it comes to meeting your needs. So our first step is to notice a self-sabotaging behavior that happens in your life, okay? So, remember, there's no such thing as self-sabotage. It's just a subconscious strategy to get different needs met, which is just, you can think of it this way. If you're self-sabotaging, and if you have an activity that you keep going to self-sabotage what you're supposed to be doing or the goal that you set instead, that activity is like encompassing golden nuggets for you, letting you know things that are deeply unmet in your life that you have to bring to the conscious surface and then show up for differently. So let's say the self-sabotage behavior is avoiding studying. And then you can ask yourself, okay, so what activity do I go to when I'm avoiding studying? And it might be one and the same, but maybe you say, okay, I watch TV. I watch endless Netflix or binge watch television, whatever it might be. So this is your self-sabotaging behavior, okay? Now, ask yourself, what needs do I get met through watching TV? Because obviously, if I keep going to this activity and I keep returning to it, obviously there's really important feedback for me that I'm getting something met that my subconscious mind keeps going to, even though my conscious mind is trying to bring me in a different direction. So maybe you notice that, I watch a lot of reality TV and I feel emotionally connected to the characters. Maybe you notice as well that in reality television, there's a lot of new things happening, people going on new adventures to new places. So maybe there's some novelty in there for you. Okay. And then maybe you find as well that there is a sense of community because there's lots of people in there, and you like to follow their stories and things that are happening in their lives. Okay. So now what you're learning is that, hey, maybe avoiding studying is because I'm actually seeking emotional connection, novelty, and community at a subconscious level instead. And I need to find a way to sort of link these things together now. So then you ask yourself in step 2, how or where can I retrieve the same benefits just through updating my strategies to get these needs met? And some really simple ones exist. Maybe you decide I'm going to study at a cafe where there's community, or maybe you join a what are they called? Like a community center, like a networking group. I forget the name of it right now, but they're like places where like entrepreneurs, people who are independent, going to school, whatever it might be, they join these like centers where a lot of people are also working, but you have a membership. There's a word for it, but I can't think of it. So let's say you're gonna join sort of like a networking group where you see the same people and there's really a sense of community there. Okay. Maybe you decide as well that I'm going to study with friends, close friends that give me that emotional connection. Okay. And your friends don't have to be studying, they don't have to be in a program if you're like the only one of your friends going back to school or making a career change or something. You can, rope up with people who are entrepreneurs, who are starting a business, having a side project that they're working on, whatever it might be. Maybe you choose to go to a library. Maybe you choose to study outside. Okay. It's in a way that creates novelty. Maybe you change up your routine. You study different things at different times in different places so you get that novelty. So basically what you're trying to do is find healthier, updated ways of getting those original needs met from column 1. And the more you do that, the more empowered you are going to feel. And then your next piece here is to look at all the positives that come out of these new strategies. So if I go to a cafe, if I join like a networking group, if I'm spending time with friends that I'm very close to who bring that emotional connection, if I go to a library, study outside, what are the positives? What are the benefits? Wow, I get more done. I can be more productive. Okay. I'll feel good about myself. I'll feel connected and included with my friends. I'll feel up to date with my friends. My emotional connection buckets will feel full. I'll learn more. I'll be inspired. Maybe I can learn more through others if I join a study group and I'm working with other people who are working on themselves and bettering themselves and learning more as well. Maybe we can sort of rope up and inspire each other and help each other out here. And then what are the downsides if I don't change my patterns? What are the downsides if I just keep binge watching television? Wow, I might fail out of my program. Then I'll lose money. Then I'll lose time. I'll feel disappointed. I'll feel like I'm not learning or I'm limiting myself. And the more negative feelings you can lace to your original habit and the more positive feelings you can lace to the new updated strategies, the faster you are imprinting your subconscious mind and the more deeply you're creating imprints. So this will help you to transform much more quickly. Okay. And then when you start self-sabotaging, just come back to this exercise and feel about those same things if you feel like you're tempted to go back to the behavior. And if you repeat this over time, eventually your subconscious mind will just have rebuilt in those positive associations to the point where they take precedence over those original strategies that you were using. And those original strategies have been laced with so many negative associations that you're actually actively avoiding those things. And so the repetition of this is extremely powerful because it allows you to be fully in conscious control of who you want to be, how you want to show up, and what habits and strategies you're taking part in that create the optimal sort of structure for your life. So I hope this all makes sense. This is it for today. This is our last exercise. A huge thank you for joining me here, and I hope this has been extremely beneficial to have these real-time, real-life examples. And I'm just so happy you're a part of our community. Thank you, thank you. Let me know if you have any questions. I look forward to seeing everybody in the webinars. And have a wonderful rest of your day.